Welcome to Nazir Fears, where fear finds you. Do you dare to enter a world of unspeakable horror and chilling mysteries? If you love creepy true stories, urban legends, haunted places, and terrifying experiences, you're in the right place. What we offer: spine-chilling horror stories, dark and mysterious urban legends, real-life encounters with the supernatural, psychological horror and unexplained mysteries, new nightmares. Every daily upload a new video only for you. Subscribe if you dare. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You never know what's lurking in the dark.
The silent gas station. This happened in the summer of 2021. I was 26 at the time, working for a small courier company delivering medical equipment across rural areas of the Midwest. Most of my routes were long, lonely stretches of road, sometimes cutting through areas where cell service didn't exist. I had grown used to these quiet drives, where the only company I had was my playlist and the hum of the engine. It wasn't glamorous work, but the pay was decent, and I liked the solitude. That night I was on a run from Topeka, Kansas to a small town in Missouri, somewhere I'd never even heard of before. It was late, around 1:30 a.m., and the highway was completely empty. The kind of empty where, if something happened, no one would ever see it. I had been driving for hours, my eyes strained and my body aching. I knew I needed a break, both to stretch and to grab a coffee. I spotted a small gas station off the highway. It wasn't one of the big chains. It looked older, run down and flickering slightly under its single weak streetlight. There were maybe 3 cars parked outside, all older models, and the whole place had a silence to it that immediately made my stomach twist. I wasn't superstitious, but something about the atmosphere set my nerves on edge. I parked my van under the lone light and stepped out, the hot summer night pressing down like a weight. As I approached the doors, I noticed a man sitting on a bench near the entrance. He was wearing a dark hoodie, hands tucked into his pockets, head down like he was sleeping, but the way he was still made me feel uneasy. I shook it off as my imagination and walked in. Inside, the gas station was dimly lit, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly. The cashier was a young man, maybe in his early 20s, with dark circles under his eyes, obviously tired. He didn't even look up as I walked to the counter. I grabbed a coffee and a protein bar and started wandering the aisles. The hum of the refrigerator units and the faint smell of stale coffee mixed with cleaning solution created a strange, oppressive atmosphere. I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. A woman was standing near the snack aisle, staring at me. She looked completely out of place, thin, pale, wearing a long black jacket despite the summer heat. Her hair was greasy and tangled, and her eyes were wide, unnaturally wide, as if she hadn't blinked in hours. I froze, trying to convince myself that she was just another late-night traveler. She didn't move, didn't speak. She just stared. My heart started beating faster, and I debated whether to leave immediately. I turned a corner to browse some candy, hoping to avoid her gaze. But as soon as I did, she moved closer, her steps silent, like she was gliding. I ducked behind a shelf and tried to stay calm. My hands were shaking, and I realized I hadn't brought my phone out with me. That was a huge mistake. The coffee in my hand suddenly felt heavy. She was there again when I peeked around the shelf, now just a few feet away, still staring. I couldn't see her face clearly, but there was something in her posture, rigid, deliberate, that set every hair on my arms on end. I wanted to speak, but my voice wouldn't come. I backed away slowly, heading toward the exit, telling myself I was overreacting. As I approached the door, she suddenly moved faster, stepping into the path between me and the exit. My stomach dropped. She wasn't walking. She was moving in a way that didn't make sense, almost like she was floating. I held the door handle ready to push through, but she raised a finger, pointing at me. It wasn't a warning. It was like a command. My instinct screamed at me to get out of there, and I slammed the door open, almost knocking her aside. But when I looked, she wasn't there. Outside, the gas station was silent again. The man on the bench had vanished. The few cars in the lot were empty. My van seemed smaller, more vulnerable, under the weak streetlight. I got in as quickly as possible and locked the doors, hands trembling. My brain raced. Maybe she had left, maybe I was imagining things, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I decided to leave immediately. As I pulled onto the highway, my headlights cut through the darkness, but the road ahead seemed endless and suffocating. I drove cautiously, eyes scanning the sides of the road. Then I noticed headlights in my rearview mirror. A car was following me, not close at first, but steadily. My pulse quickened. At first, I told myself it was another late-night traveler, but there was no reason for anyone to be on this stretch of road at this hour. I sped up. The car behind me mirrored my speed, inching closer. My heart pounded, and my hands gripped the wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. The vehicle was a black sedan, older, unmarked, windows tinted so I couldn't see inside. But I could feel the eyes, I could feel the intention. For the next 20 minutes, I was trapped in a nightmare. Every time I tried to change lanes, the car matched me. Every time I slowed, it slowed. I couldn't shake it. My phone was in the van, useless without service. My brain screamed at me to call for help, but I was deep in the middle of nowhere. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the car swerved, overtook me, and disappeared into the darkness. My chest heaved as I tried to calm down, telling myself it was over. I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. Nothing. No headlights. Silence. But the unease didn't leave. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever it wasn't gone. It was waiting. I made it to the next small town, pulling into a 24-hour gas station under bright lights. My hands were shaking as I got out and went inside. The cashier glanced at me with a curious look, noticing my pale face. I bought a soda and a snack, trying to steady myself, and asked if anyone had reported a black sedan lingering around late at night. He shook his head. I left the gas station, checking my mirrors obsessively. My pulse hadn't slowed, even though I had made it to civilization. The memory of those wide, unblinking eyes, the silent movements, and the black sedan following me haunted me. I didn't stop for the rest of the night. I drove straight to my hotel, double-checking that every door was locked, every light on. I never saw her or the car again, but I still think about it. The way she moved, the way she stared, the silent, unnatural intent of it all. To this day, I don't stop at lonely gas stations at night, and I make sure I'm never alone on dark stretches of highway. That night taught me that sometimes isolation isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. And there are things out there waiting in the dark that aren't human.